Raiders Nation, what's up? In today's show, we're diving into the biggest winners and losers for the Las Vegas Raiders this offseason. We've spent a lot of time discussing potential draft picks and free agent signings, but today we're focusing on players who were part of the Raiders last season. With all the moves made by Coach Pete Carroll and GM John Spytek on both offense and defense, we're going to break down who's coming out on top and who might be on the downside. Why are we doing this now? Well, the Raiders' offseason workouts officially begin today, April 8th, and the excitement for football is building. I don't know about you, but I'm pumped to see what this new regime can do. If you're feeling the same way, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're looking for up-to-date Raiders offseason news and analysis, subscribing to the Raiders Report is the way to go. Now let's talk about one of the most talked about offseason stories, the Raiders moving on from Jack Jones. Over the past 24 hours, I've seen a surprising amount of shock from Raiders fans about this decision. But honestly, if you've been following this channel, you'd know that we've been predicting that Jones would either be traded or cut before the NFL draft. It's been clear for a while, so if you enjoy this kind of inside scoop, subscribing here is a must. Here's how I'm going to break this down today. I'll start with the winners on offense, then move to the losers on offense, followed by winners on defense, and wrap things up with the defensive losers. Let's jump right in. Trey Tucker, winner, offense. At number 5 on our winners list, we've got Trey Tucker. Right now, Tucker sits as the projected number 1, 2 wide receivers behind Jakobi Meyers. While I'm also keeping an eye on Kyle Phillips, who was the first recruit Chip Kelly ever signed, Tucker's opportunity is key. With Geno Smith now at quarterback, and with the Raiders not yet adding another wide receiver in free agency, Tucker has a real chance to make an impact. There's still a chance the Raiders could draft a wide receiver, or even 2, but the fact they haven't added anyone yet tells me that Tucker is definitely a winner this offseason. Jordan Meredith, winner, offense. At number 4, we've got Jordan Meredith. The Raiders made a smart move by bringing him back this offseason. Meredith isn't just a returnee. He's competing for a starting role at left guard, which is huge. Coach Spytek highlighted that the interior offensive line battle is between Alex Kappa, JPJ, Dylan Parham, and Meredith. With a solid PFF grade from last season, Meredith's chances to start are strong. Even if the Raiders decide to go with Kappa at left guard, Meredith's presence is a clear win for him and the team. DJ Glaze, winner, offense. Coming in at number 3, we've got DJ Glaze. Although he wasn't drafted by this regime, Glaze has been on Spytek's radar since last offseason. The fact that he had a top 30 visit with the Buccaneers shows he was a player to keep an eye on. Right now, if the season were to start today, Glaze would be the starting right tackle. Spytek has already gone on record praising his love for offensive linemen, and since the Raiders didn't sign any other right tackles, it's clear that Glaze is in a prime position to secure the role. DJ Glaze may not have been drafted by this current regime, but he's definitely earned the trust of Coach Spytek. If the Raiders stick with him as the starting right tackle, that's a clear win for Glaze, especially considering how much Spytek values building from the trenches. If Glaze stays in that starting role, you can bet he's a winner this offseason. Brock Bowers, winner, offense. Next up at number 2, we've got tight end Brock Bowers. The reason Bowers makes this list is simple: Geno Smith. Smith is a clear upgrade over previous quarterbacks like Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, which is huge for Bowers. He had an outstanding season last year, and now, with a stronger quarterback and the addition of Chip Kelly, things are looking even better. On top of that, Bowers ranked 29th out of 36 qualified tight ends in terms of accurate targets last season. That's impressive considering that Geno Smith has been the most accurate quarterback in the NFL over the past 4 years, according to Warren Sharp. Now that Bowers will be getting more precise throws from Smith, the sky's the limit for him. Brock Bowers isn't just on his way up. He's already a standout, and we're about to see him take it to another level. Before we continue, I want to hear from you. Who do you think is the Raiders' biggest winner this offseason on offense? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. I'll be asking the same question about the defense in just a few minutes, but for now, let's stay focused on the offense. Jakobi Meyers, winner, offense. No surprises here, Jakobi Meyers takes the top spot as the biggest winner on offense. Meyers has a chance to step into a number 1 receiver role with a quarterback like Geno Smith, who is a perfect fit for his skill set. Plus, Meyers is in a contract year, which adds some extra motivation. With no guaranteed money on his current deal, don't be surprised if the Raiders look to extend him before the season even kicks off. And here's something that's really impressive. Meyers didn't drop a single pass last season. Let that sink in. Not one drop. He also ranked 63rd out of 103 wide receivers in terms of accurate target rate. When you factor in Geno Smith's accuracy, combined with Meyers' smooth route running and reliable hands, I expect a career year from him. While 87 catches might be a stretch, I'm betting on around 70 receptions, with possibly close to 1,000 yards and 8 to 9 touchdowns. Offensive losers. This offseason now. Let's shift gears and talk about the offseason losers on the offensive side of the football. While we'll focus more on the winners, we can't ignore the challenges some players are facing. Dylan Parham, potential loser. Offense. At number 3, we have Dylan Parham. I'm not entirely sure if Parham is a definite loser, but I'm including him here because I thought he'd be a clear starter on the offensive line this season. Originally, I expected JPJ to take over at center, with Parham filling in either at left guard or right guard. However, from what Coach Spytek has said, it doesn't sound like Parham's starting role is guaranteed. The Raiders also brought in Alex Kappa, a guy Spytek knows well. So, while Parham has potential, it's unclear if he's locked in as a starter, especially considering this is the final year of his contract. Thayer Munford, loser. Offense. At number 2, we've got Thayer Munford. I like Munford, but the competition on the offensive line this offseason could push him down the depth chart. As we've seen with the addition of Kappa and the other options at guard, Munford's path to a starting role isn't as clear as it once seemed. Thayer Munford, potential loser. Offense. I've liked Thayer Munford for the past few years, but he had a tough finish to last season. I'm starting to worry he could get lost in the shuffle on the offensive line. Just a few weeks ago, Coach Spytek mentioned a lot of players on the O-line, but Munford's name didn't come up at all. As of April 7th or 8th, depending on when you're watching this, Munford is probably sitting around as the 7th or 8th offensive lineman on the roster. The Raiders are likely going to draft at least one more lineman, which will push Munford further into that bubble category. If it comes down to keeping a veteran like Alex Kappa or a guy like Jordan Meredith or Dylan Parham, I don't see the Raiders prioritizing Munford. He's going to have to fight hard to earn his spot, and right now, it seems like he might be behind in that battle, especially when you factor in DJ Glaze's strong positioning. Zamir White, biggest loser, offense. At number 1 on the list, unfortunately, we've got Zamir White. I really wanted things to work out for him, but the reality is that his inconsistency has hurt him. Much like Jack Jones, there have been flashes of potential, but the inability to hold on to the ball and struggles last season put him behind the 8 ball. The addition of Raheem Mostert and the likelihood that the Raiders draft 1 or 2 more running backs makes it hard to see where White fits into this team. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if the Raiders opt to keep Lobe, especially considering he had a top 30 visit with the Buccaneers and was on Coach Spytek's radar last season. The Raiders had the worst rushing attack in the league last year, and White's brief stint as the starter didn't help that. With that in mind, it's hard to argue that White isn't the biggest loser on offense this offseason. Defensive winners this offseason. Now, let's turn the page to the defensive side of the ball. We've already covered the offensive winners and losers, but now it's time to look at who's making an impact on defense. Amari Gaynor, winner, defense. Starting off at number 5 is linebacker Amari Gaynor. Gaynor has been doing all the right things this offseason, especially by surrounding himself with key figures in the organization, none other than Maxx Crosby. When you align yourself with the right people, it doesn't go unnoticed, and the coaching staff is taking note. The linebacker room is a bit thin, and while the Raiders signed veteran linebackers like Elandon Roberts and Devin White, there's still room for someone like Gaynor to make an impact. Personally, I think Gaynor has the edge over others like Amari Burney, who might get more special teams work. Keep an eye on Gaynor as a potential sleeper this offseason, especially heading into the preseason. Trey Taylor, winner, defense. At number 4, we have Trey Taylor, a player who might surprise some of you to see on this list. He's not someone we hear a lot about, but the Raiders still need a free safety, and Taylor's versatility could make him a valuable asset. He's a bit of a hybrid, strong safety and free safety, but he fits the mold of the kind of player Coach Spytek and the Raiders are looking for. Taylor had a top 30 visit with the Buccaneers and was another player who caught spytek's attention last season. His work ethic and dedication fit the culture this team is building, and I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a big impact in camp. Trey Taylor, winner, defense. Trey Taylor is another name to keep an eye on. He's doing everything right this offseason, and his professionalism speaks volumes. With the right NFL connections and strong support from people in his corner, he's positioning himself well for a big opportunity. The Raiders' decisions, or lack thereof, have worked in his favor. While the team didn't make major moves at certain positions, it's giving Taylor a chance to shine. His versatility and work ethic have earned him a place among the defensive winners. Jonu Lu, winner, defense. At number 3, we have defensive tackle Jonu Lu. Some people I've spoken to believe that Lu could potentially start next to Christian Wilkins if the season began today. While I'm not fully sold on that just yet, I do think it's a possibility. I still think Adam Butler has the edge, considering the 3-year deal he signed with the Raiders. However, I do believe that Lu is in a good position. The Raiders signed Lecky Foe and replaced John Jenkins, which suggests that they have more faith in Lu than many might think. Because of that, he's earned a spot on this list as one of the offseason winners. Demarion Richardson, winner, defense. Now, I'm going to put Demarion Richardson as a surprise winner on defense. I'll be honest, Richardson wasn't drafted by this current regime, but his size and athleticism are exactly what Coach Pete Carroll and the Raiders are looking for in a cornerback. The Raiders let Nate Hobbs walk and parted ways with Jack Jones, which means they're banking on their secondary. They've brought in Eric Stokes, but this also speaks to their confidence in young players like Jaker Bennett and Darnell Holmes. I believe Richardson could follow a similar growth pattern to Bennett, making a huge leap from his rookie to sophomore season. Even if he doesn't, his athleticism still makes him a valuable asset, and at the very least, he could contribute on special teams as a gunner. Maxx Crosby, biggest winner, defense. And now for the biggest winner on the defensive side, Maxx Crosby. This one might be obvious, but it's hard to overstate just how much Crosby has earned this offseason. He recently signed a brand new extension, making him the highest-paid non-quarterback in the NFL. That's a massive accomplishment. But beyond the financials, Crosby's extension locks him in with Coach Spytek and the Raiders long-term. When Crosby was asked what he wanted this offseason, he made it clear he wanted to keep the defensive line intact, and that's exactly what the Raiders did. They gave Patrick Graham a raise, prioritized Rob Leonard, and retained key defensive line pieces, many of which Crosby personally requested. So, if you're asking who the biggest winner is on defense, it's Maxx Crosby. He got everything he wanted and deserves every bit of it. Defensive offseason losers. Now let's talk about some of the defensive losers this offseason. I'll be honest, this was a harder list to put together than I expected. But before I dive into those names, I want to give a shout out to the NY gang. These 5 people were the first to comment on the video I dropped on April 7th. Huge thanks to Albert Ramirez, Sucker Free, Ricardo1990, Know the Slogan, Song You All Are the Real MVPs, Tyree Wilson, Loser, Defense. Starting off with Tyree Wilson, I've got to be honest here. Wilson has had a tough run, and now he's facing his 3rd regime in just 3 seasons. For a player like Tyree, continuity is key, and having to adapt to a new system each year doesn't help his development. The recent Devin White signing could make things even more complicated for him. When you hear the term resurgence used in relation to White, it suggests that they might use him more as an athlete, potentially even as an edge rusher. This could eat into Wilson's playing time, and with rumors swirling about Jalen Walker, things aren't looking too great for Tyree. It's a tough spot, and unfortunately, I'm putting him on the losers list. Tommy Eichenberg, loser, defense. Next up is Tommy Eichenberg. I hate putting him on this list, but with the additions of Devin White and Landon Roberts, Eichenberg's role on the team has become a lot more uncertain. Eichenberg, drafted by the previous regime, seems to have been overtaken by the new signings, and the fact that the Raiders have been linked to multiple linebacker prospects in the draft doesn't help his case. If they grab a linebacker in rounds 2 through 4, it could push Eichenberg further down the depth chart. He's caught in a tough spot, and unfortunately, that lands him here on the losers list. Matthew Butler, biggest loser, defense. The biggest loser on the defensive side, in my opinion, is defensive tackle Matthew Butler. It's honestly a bit concerning for him. He wasn't drafted by this regime, and from what I've heard, there are some serious questions about his athleticism and, more critically, his passion for the game. When you hear that from someone like Pete Carroll and Spytek, it raises a red flag. Add to that the Raiders prioritizing other defensive tackles like Adam Butler and John Lualu, and it's clear that the team doesn't have much confidence in Butler's ability to make an impact. With the addition of Lecky Fu and other players like Christian Wilkins, there are a lot of players above Butler on the depth chart. His spot on the roster is far from secure, and that puts him at the top of this list for defensive losers. Quick recap of winners and losers. To wrap up, here's a quick recap of the winners and losers for the Raiders this offseason. Offensive winners: Trey Tucker, Jordan Merida, DJ Glaze, Brock Bowers, Jakobi Meyers. Defensive winners: Amari Gaynor, Trey Taylor, John Liu, Demarion Richardson, Maxx Crosby. Offensive losers: Dylan Parham, Daryl Munford, Zamir White. Defensive losers: Tyree Wilson, Tommy Eichenberg, Matthew Butler.